All right, Shalom, Rob Van Hoff here with TelosTorah. And I just did a short video on the Rob on the Rock channel from a few verses from our Torah portion. I wanted to look at another set of passages here from the Torah. And they are funny. They're about names, Shemot, even though the book in Hebrew is called Shemot because it opens up with the list of all the sons of Jacob, of course. Well, here I want to look at two other places where we learn names. One is the name of Moshe, Moses, and another his son Gershom. And then we're going to peek a little bit ahead at Exodus 15 or Exodus 18 rather, where we learn again of Gershom's name, but also his younger brother Eliezer. So we'll look at those here today. I've got the Hebrew on the left and the NASB on the right, and I am getting used to having that black background. I like it. It's easier on the eye. You know, I don't like a lot of screen time, but a lot of us have to be on computers a lot. And so it's nice to have something that's a little easier on the eye. And so I hope that's the case for you. But in Exodus 2, verse 10, it says, Vayigdal Hayeled. And the Yeled, that is the young boy. The boy grew. And we see a verb here from Gimel Dalet Lamed, right? Vayigdal. A good old call, imperfect here, but here it's a Vav Hipuk. It's a consecutive Vav, so we flip it to as if it were perfect. Vayigdal Hayeled. And the Yeled grew. Vatevi Ehu levat paro. Now presumably this is a woman who's bringing him. This is a hifil of bo, of bet vav aleph. But it's crunched down, isn't it? Because it's got this suffix ehu. Normally the vowel under the tav would be a bigger vowel than just the vocal shava, but it's collapsed down. And normally we would expect with the hifil, after that hirik, a yod, right? That would be like our standard hifil. But in this case, it crunches down. And it's already what we call a middle weak verb, or a hollow verb, bet vav aleph. So for those who've done a little bit Hebrew, you know that the hifil of lavo or bo here is already different than our standard hifil. But in any event, vateviehu, and she brought him, is how we translate vateviehu. And the question is, what is the antecedent here of the she? She brought him. We know it's she because of this tav right here. That tav is she. She brought him. Well, it's probably Miriam. It's probably his sister, because that, if you go back and we'd see that it was his sister that's caring for him all this time. So I'm from the view that that's probably the best reading here. So it's Miriam brought him. And who's the him? The baby Moses, the Yeled. Levat paro. To bat paro. Bat, a daughter of Paro, Pharaoh. So we know that excludes daughter of Pharaoh from being the she, right? She brought him to Pharaoh's daughter. Vayhi leven, and he became to her a son. Literally, you could say, and she became, he became her son. Vatikra Shemo. Now here, I'm assuming that the tav here, feminine, vatikra, and she called his name, refers to the daughter of Pharaoh. Vatikra Shemo Moshe. Moshe. Moses, we call that Moses, and the Moshe, the at the end, Moses is same as like Jesus, right? Or Elias. That is that S sound at the end in our English comes from through the Greek, and it is a way that the Greek encodes a nominative case. And so it's not part of the name. Even in ancient Greek, they knew that that letter was not part of the name. It flags a noun to have a certain function in the sentence, and it's understood that it's not part of the actual word. But in any case, vatikra Shemot Moshe. Vatomer, and she said, Ki min hamayim meshitihu. And she said, because from the water, meshitihu, I drew him. Because from the water I drew him. So we can see this meshitihu here sounds like Moshe. And again, just like with the Hifil above, we have a little shortened form. If we take the suffix hu off, so that's the him, I drew him, it would be mashiti. So we'd have a different vowel. We'd have a kametz under the mem here. Mashiti. Mashiti means I drew. Mashiti. But when we add that suffix, we get that slurred vowel up front, and it just becomes a vocal shava. Meshitihu, I drew him. So a curiosity here is that Moshe can be understood as an active participle, or like a present tense verb, or technically an active participle in the masculine, saying one who draws, Moshe, that one who draws. That's what his name means, one who draws. The one drawing, like from the water, drawing out. Whereas the daughter's Pharaoh is the one who's doing the drawing from, right? Meshitihu, she's the one that drew him. So you might think that the logic would be that he is called something like Mashui, or something like that, Mashui, one who is drawn, because she's the one that did the drawing. However, I think that I think there's probably two things here at least. One is Moshe, that it is talking about that he is going to be like her. In other words, she is prophetically, if you want, saying that he's going to be one who draws. And indeed, we see, even though we don't see this verb, masha, used later to describe Moses when taking or leading the children of Israel out of Egypt, still it has that prophetic vision forward. Moshe, one who draws, which is a kind of like a savior, because you could say a Moshiach, right? There's a wordplay maybe with Moshiach, one who saves, one who rescues, a rescuer, a savior. But I think secondarily, there could be a sense that it's not, that the reason for that a Hebrew phrase here, again, and so we have a difficulty, is the Bat Paro, is the daughter of Pharaoh speaking Hebrew when she says, I drew him out of the water? How are we to understand this? Well, it's thought that perhaps Moses' name was originally an Egyptian word related to some kind of name, religious name, meaning a man-child is one who is born, something like that. I'm not a scholar of ancient Egyptian, but the question is, would the daughter of Pharaoh name this adopted son with an Egyptian name? We know that Joseph was given a new name by Pharaoh, right? He was given an Egyptian name. But here, I think we're supposed to understand Moshe as a Hebrew name. And even if we see like Ramses, right? You see Masas, which sounds like Moses, right? In Ramses. We see other places where Masa or Moses is in ancient Egyptian language as a name. So my view is we're supposed to understand this in terms of Hebrew, not in terms of of Egyptian, and lest we think it might be Egyptian, we have the clear Hebrew rationale behind the naming. Ki min hamayim meshitihu, for I drew him forth out of the water. Okay, but that's the first name. Remember, we're talking about Shemot, names. Exodus 2:22, this is now fast forwarding to Tzipporah, Moses' wife gives birth, and it says, Vatelid ben, and she gave birth to a son, that's Tzipporah did, Vayikra et Shemo, and he called his name. So now Moses is the one naming his son. It's not Vatikra, it's Vayikra et Shemo, Gershom. It's a compound. This is a compound name. Ki amar ger hayiti, because I was a ger. So ger, the word ger in Gershom means ger. I was a stranger, as you see in the NASB here. A ger is like a resident, alien, something like that. Ki ger hayiti, I was a ger. Be'eretz nokriya, in a foreign land. I was a stranger in a strange land, you could say. Although the terms here are different. Ger is one word, and this nokriya, this other word translated foreign, is a little bit different. But they're close and they're close semantically, I guess. They have some affiliation, ger and nokriya. So Gershom, Shom is for the word sham, there. I was a stranger there. So Sham is what we call it's a distant, it has a sense of distance. It has a sense of far. It's a kind of that demonstrative place that's at a distance there. It's not here. It's not I'm a stranger here. It's I was a stranger there. So there's a sense of there which matches the word ger, like not full belonging. I was a ger there. I was a stranger there in a Eretz Nokriya. And it seems that he had a sense of distance or foreignness to a homeland. Like, where is Moses' homeland here? Because he was born in Egypt, and then he was in the wilderness serving under Jethro. So you could say, well, where was this strange land? Was this strange land in Egypt, or was this strange land in Midian, or both? Is he reflecting back on his life so far as being very upended and kind of homeless in terms of having a solid, clear homeland? And we know Moses dies in the wilderness, so he never gets to the promised land. He only sees it at the end of the book of Deuteronomy. He sees it before he dies. But I wanted to peek ahead to chapter 18, verses 3 and 4. I know we won't be there for a few weeks, but to talk a little bit more about Moses' two sons, because in our Torah portion, we only learn of Gershom. But in 18, we learn that he has a second son, Eliezer, that we'll see. So in Exodus 18, 3 and 4, Vet Shnei Vaneha, this is, and her two sons. That's talking about Zipporah's two sons. Asher Shem Ha'echad, who's the name of the one, Gershom. That's just like we read today in Exodus 2. Ki Amar, because he said, Ger Hayiti Be'eretz Nokriya, exactly the same phrase that we just saw in chapter 2. But then Exodus 18:4, V'shem Ha'echad, and the name of the one, of the other, Eliezer. So that again is a compound, just like where Moshe is not a compound name, right? Moshe is simply, he draws out, one drawing out. But Gershom, compound, two different Hebrew words smashed together. Same thing here too. Eliezer, my God, or God of. Eli could be my God, or it could be God of. Ezer, help. Ki Elohe Avi, because the God of my father, be'ezri. Strangely, with my help, or in my help, maybe in my strength, or something like that, to my rescue. Here it says, he saved me. Or sorry, he says, was my help. The save me is the next part. Vayatzileni, and he rescued me, mecherev paro, from the sword of Pharaoh. So in our look today at names from the Parashat Shemot, we learned about Moshe and his firstborn son Gershom. Here we learned about Gershom again in chapter 18, almost word for word what we saw in chapter 2. But also there's another son, Eliezer. Ki Elohe Avi be'ezri vayatzileni mecherev paro, because he saved me from the sword of Pharaoh. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope that these little deep dives into just a few verses is something that inspires you to spend some time in the Torah, reading and pondering and comparing what you learn here in this passage with what you learn in a different passage. And for those who know a little bit of Hebrew, I'm hoping that that's encouraging for you as you see what you're learning in action here.